Okay, welcome back to First Take Math with Brian Thomas, and again, Jason's on my iPad. We want to talk tonight a little bit about what we call a zero pair. I actually hadn't heard of this myself until about 2 years ago. I always heard it as the additive inverse. Again, I grew up in a high school atmosphere, so we used all this high-tech language that nobody understood. But zero pair is more of an elementary way of saying it, and it actually connects better with me as well. So zero pair basically means a zero pair equals 0. The way this plays out is a pair would mean 2, and what we're doing is we're adding two numbers that have opposite signs. So if I have a 5 and a negative 5, those two numbers are referred to as a zero pair, therefore they would go to 0. For example, I have $5 of income and I have $5 of debt. Well, we know income and debt, if they're the same, are just going to zero out. I'm back to where I was, starting over again. And you don't have to know a whole lot about decimals, as long as you recognize that if I wanted a zero pair, if this is a negative 12.5, I'm going to need a positive 12.5 if I want to make that go to 0. So I really don't have to know a whole lot about decimals, as long as I understand that, hey, to make a negative 12.5 go away, I'm going to need a negative or a positive 12.5 go away. Again, the correct way of reading this would be negative 12 and 5/10 plus 12 and 5/10, if I'm reading that correctly. A lot of times math teachers will just simply say negative 12.5, but that's not really reading it correctly. Got to remember that 5 is in the tenths place, so negative 12.5 is really negative 12 and 5/10. Looking at this fraction one, we have a half. Well, to make a half go to 0, I just need its opposite. So all I would need is a negative 1/2 there. And that would make that go to 0. So notice how adding two numbers that have the opposite sign will always go to 0. You can also apply this to variables. So if I have an x, to make an x go away, all we need is its zero pair, which is opposite of x. And that will now go to 0. And finally, if I have like a negative x squared, well, to make that go to 0, I just need its opposite. And since that's negative, I now need a positive x squared, and that will now go to 0. And that's really a powerful tool when you start to get into solving equations and things like that, looking for the zero pair. Again, thank you, and we'll continue on later this evening.